Hello, folks. It is Saturday, March 4th. We're going to take a look at Dolly Varden Silver. And the reason I am looking at this company this weekend, I am going to be doing some buying, several stocks that I'll be buying the early part of this coming week. And the reason I am doing so is this chart right here. This is GDXJ. This is my proxy for the mining sector. And this is just some real nice action. We've tested support. We've got a strong rise off of support, very bullish bar. That was Wednesday. On Friday, testing or playing with the 20-day moving average. Anyway, just some nice action here. I believe this correction is complete, and we're off on the start of our next up leg in the mining stocks. We've got a new buy signal in MACD. Energy based on stochastics. That's how I judge. One of the ways that I judge energy level in a given vehicle is by the slow stochastics. That's a tongue twister. And so anyway, the mining stocks are looking good. In my opinion, they're headed higher on their own. So the miners are profitable at current prices. Even with the inflation, recent inflation, which obviously has affected the miners, they are still profitable at current prices. We have at least one significant catalyst, potential catalyst, that could drive the price of gold significantly higher, back over 2,000, back to a new all-time, actually drive gold to a new all-time high. And that catalyst is the situation in Ukraine, which in late March, April, somewhere in there, at some point Russia is going to unleash the large force that it has been assembling. Got 300,000 new troops. None of them have been committed to the action yet. So what we're currently seeing in Ukraine is it's the same troops that have been there for the past year. And so anyway, my expectation is that when that event occurs, we will get a pop in gold. It's going to push it back over 2,000 and potentially to a new all-time high. Most likely to a new all-time high. I don't like to invest based on that kind of maybe it does, maybe it doesn't happen, and that's why I'm pointing out the miners are profitable at current prices, and so we don't need higher gold and silver prices for the miners to be profitable. So let's get rolling. Dolly is located in British Columbia. BC, the Golden Triangle is certainly in the top 5 mining jurisdictions in the world. Bob Moriarty, I think he places it in the top 2, I believe, and may even think that it's the top. I think in his video he says Nevada is commonly considered number 1, but Bob questions whether it's not actually British Columbia, the Golden Triangle, as the number 1 mining jurisdiction. Oh, and let me point out, so you can see Hecla. Here's Dolly. So Dolly, we're down in the southern tip of the Golden Triangle. And we'll see on another map that Dolly's land package is adjacent to Hecla. This is the Kitsal Valley. I'm probably not pronouncing that, almost certainly not pronouncing that correctly. What's interesting in this particular map is that we have a 15-kilometer long we've got 15 kilometers along this strike in this mineralized trend. Got 15 kilometers, and there are 5.5 kilometers between these two deposits. that Dolly has. So currently we've got Dolly Varden deposit at this end of the strike, and then this is the home stake package up at the northern end. And we got 5.5 kilometers between those two that is unexplored, and the expectation is there will be additional mineral deposits in that 5.5 kilometer along strike there. This is elephant country. These are big. When they find deposits in this area, they're big deposits, and so anyway, a lot of potential there in 5.5 kilometers of unexplored land along strike. And so that's what I wanted to look at in that map. Unique amongst the junior miners, Dolly Varden has already been significantly de-risked. They have NI 43-101 technical reports on both Dolly and on Homestake, and we can see that here. So Homestake, we've got 1.8 million ounces of gold. Now and I pointed at silver. This is gold. So we've got 1.8 million ounces of gold. I'm looking at something wrong here, and 33 million ounces of silver. So significantly de-risked. They've already got minerals in the bag, so to speak. And then this is another potential catalyst for this particular miner. They're heading into a new technical report in early 2023, and this technical report will be combined, so it'll be a combination of Dolly Varden and Homestake Ridge, which they bought Homestake Ridge from Fury Gold, and so this will be the first consolidated technical report for the combination of the package. So this is another catalyst, and of course there'll be news around this. News events tend to propel stocks higher, so potential for higher prices based on that news. Been a lot of merger and acquisition activity in the Golden Triangle, $5 billion. Newcrest is about at least $3.5 billion of that. So anyway, there's a lot of takeovers happening. The major miners, they recognize this as a good place, good place to be mining, and so they're acquiring assets up there. One of the strong points for Dolly Varden is their tight share structure. You know, that's more shares outstanding, or I guess there's fully diluted, 264 million shares outstanding, but only 7% of those shares are available to retail investors like you and I. You know, Eric's got a bunch, institutions have a bunch, Fury's got a bunch, Hecla's got 10%. Make note of that. Hecla already holds 10% of this company, and we'll see why that matters here in a moment. But anyway, this is important. Only 7% of the shares are available to the retail, and it's the retail investor that tends to drive prices higher. So anyway, that's a very positive point in favor of Dolly. Now this next slide, I want to show you, I found a cool map on Dolly's website, and I want to show you where I found it on their website, because it's a little bit, it's not that it's hidden, it's just that it's not linked in any of the menus. And so I want to show you where I found it. So if you go to their presentation page, which is, or I'm sorry, the investors page, which is in their menu structure, you'll get to this page, presentations, and then if you jump to interactive content, you get to this map. And this is just a cool map, and so I want to spend a moment looking at this. So we can see here in red, this is Dolly Varden's land package. They've got 163 square kilometers. Up here in the north, we've got the Homestake Ridge. Dolly Varden's down at the south end of the property. This little aqua green hoochie with the squiggly lines, that's a hydroelectric dam right on the property. And then notice as well, so we've got a port at Kitsalt again. I'm going to have to figure out how to pronounce that. And then we've got 25 kilometers to the Dolly Varden land package along this gray line. This is a government maintained highway. And so the Yukon government is serious about promoting mining in the Yukon. And the last time, this is from memory, and it's dated. I think this was probably 2 years ago. The Yukon government was spending, I think it was $238 million on infrastructure upgrades in the region, roads, water, electrical. And so anyway, nice to have the government on your side. And obviously this is a mining-friendly jurisdiction, or the government wouldn't be in there upgrading infrastructure. So note also, here's Hecla. So in the blue outline, that's Hecla's land package. And like I said, they're adjacent to one another. And so Hecla is the most likely takeover candidate. You know, if anybody's going to take over Dolly, most likely will be Hecla, and they already own 10% of Dolly. And so they're already joining forces, you might say. So note also in this map, we're not going to talk about Goliath, but Goliath just has a huge land package. And I'll be looking at Goliath. That's another company that I'll be buying this coming week. But so just make note, there's Goliath right there in the thick of things. These are the existing technical reports. And so this is Homestake Ridge, January of 22. So this technical report is only a year old. So wouldn't expect a lot of change in a year. But the technical report on Dolly is way back in 2019. So our mid 19. So we're going to have a lot of change when we get the technical report on the Dolly Varden portion. And again, we looked a couple of slides ago. They're expecting to do an updated technical report, combined both packages in early 23. So coming up. We've got 37,000 meter drill program underway for our planned for 23. So they're not going to sit back and rest on their laurels. Fully funded. They're sitting on 26 million Canadian, more than enough to pay for this drill program. So that's interesting. Let's look at the charts, and then we've got a few more things to talk about, recent articles, and then a video from Bob. And I'll include links to that in the description below the video. So here's Dolly in the monthly time frame. The accumulation distribution in this time frame looks pretty nice. You know, clearly investors are, investing in this company. They're hanging on to their shares. people like Dolly. So, and with good reason. There are very few primary silver miners, and so Dolly Varden falls into that category. Bob Moriarty used to say that Dolly Varden is silver. You know, if you're looking for silver, you're looking for Dolly Varden. But after the acquisition of Homestake Ridge from Fury, Dolly is really kind of 50-50. You know, it's half silver, half gold. Of course, all of it's very high grade, which, you know, that's a good thing. Hard to go wrong with high grade mineral deposits. So in the price action, we see that we've pushed up into this horizontal support resistance level, and a pretty strong level. You know, we can see support all along here, and then several tests of this level as resistance. We're testing it again for resistance. We've got this Andrews pitchfork in blue. Price is pushing up into resistance at that level. Let's see what else we got here. Double bottom, nice volume. This is exactly what we want to see in a bullish trend. When price is rising, we want to see volume rising. That's exactly what we've got there. And then when price consolidates, bumps sideways, or pulls back, we want to see volume declining. And so we don't, in the monthly time frame, we don't see that yet. All we've got is the climb. So anyway, based on volume, this is nice action. Stochastics, my indicator of energy, very elevated. So lots of energy to move to the upside if that's what the stock wants to do. What's going on here? I'd like to take a closer look at MACD. There it is. So both lines of MACD indicator are above the zero level, which indicates that we are in bull mode, suggesting that the primary trend is to the upside, and we're currently on a buy signal. So just lots to like here in this monthly time frame. Now we're in the weekly, pushing up into resistance again. Now the accumulation distribution doesn't look quite as nice in this time frame. I'm guessing, just top of my head, that you know, people after this big spike, we had people selling into that spike and then losing interest, moving on to other more exciting trades. And so that's what I'm assuming we're seeing here in accumulation distribution, and got a little bit of an uptick recent with this recent rally, but not really exciting. MACD in bull mode on a buy signal, energy is elevated. So big spike in volume up into that peak, and then pullback. And what I was saying about volume just a minute ago, this is exactly what we want to see, is that when price consolidates, whether it's a sideways consolidation, that's what I'd call this, mostly a sideways consolidation, or an outright pullback, we want to see volume decline. Oh, yeah, if we look at, so if we just look at 12 months on this chart, accumulation distribution looks a lot better. We can see that investors actually did come back in and start accumulating shares again. So pretty volatile action here. We'll see that better in this daily time frame. So a couple of things to note here in the daily time frame. The most dramatic price action is right in here, and what we'll find is that coincides with a news release, and so had a very exciting news release that caused, see if we drop down to a lower time frame. So we're down in the hourly. So we can see big bullish action on that news release, pushed up into resistance, and then started trickling lower. I suspect that somebody was doing some hardcore selling of Dolly based on that news report. And of course, the Canadian shares, there's a lot of naked shorting in the Canadian markets lack of regulation is the reason. And so anyway, that's just me spitballing, trying to explain this volatility, this price action. My guess is the short sellers, naked short sellers, took advantage of this press release and started selling Dolly. And of course, selling begets selling, scares the weak hands out of the market, which is not a bad thing. Shaking out the weak hands is never a bad thing. So that may not feel good, but in the long term, it's a good thing. But that has taken price all the way back to and below the lower side of this upward sloping channel. And so that's a little bit of a negative that now that level is overhead resistance for us. On a positive note, price is consolidating along the 50-day moving average. Of course, 20-day moving average is in there as well. But and we've got a little bit of a minor support resistance level here, the horizontal. So price action kind of mixed in the daily time frame. I'm not worried about it at all. I'd rather be buying down here than up here. Again, even though this price action is not bullish, obviously, volume's doing exactly what we would want it to do during this kind of action, and that is volume drops off. We didn't get a big spike of selling based on this price action. MACD in bull mode, just above the zero level of the indicator, but still in bull mode, currently on a sell signal. Energy is just below the halfway. So not super exciting in the daily time frame. But again, we've got potential catalyst from an updated technical report. And we've got a drill package, 37,000 meter drill package coming in 2023, fully funded package. So shouldn't expect any more dilution needed to pay for that drilling. And then the big potential that we don't want to bet on, but it's likely to happen pretty quickly. Like I said, end of March, in mid-April, somewhere in there, Russia's going to make a move, and my expectation is that we'll see gold react to that move when it occurs. And so that's it for the charts. Let's keep. I want to talk about this price spike. The catalyst for that price spike was this news release. And look at these numbers. So 46.3 grams per ton. This is gold. AU is gold. So 46.3 grams per ton of gold over 25 meters. Now, it's been a while since I mentioned this. Quentin Henney talks about his thumb rule of 100. And I've explained that before, but let's talk about it again. So what you do is you take the grams per ton, so 46.31, and we're going to multiply that number by the strike length. And so 25 meters. And so we got 46.31 times 25 equals 1157. Now, according to Quentin Henney, anything over 100 is potentially economically viable. And so when the majors are out there trying to, are we interested in this land based on that drill hole or not, they're looking at that 100 number. And here we've got almost 1,200. So just a phenomenal drill result there on for gold. And then 70 grams per ton, that's 2 ounces, just over 2 ounces of silver per ton, which is pretty good rock there for silver. And again, these are high grade deposits. That's the BC, the Golden Triangle there. There's a reason it's called the Golden Triangle. So got a couple articles. This is Bob. That's back in November of 22. This is Richard Mills, ahead of the herd. He has a free newsletter. I don't think I've mentioned him before as a potential resource. I pay attention to his work. I subscribe to his free newsletter. He does good work. In this article, he's talking about that news release, the drill results from that news release. Eric Wetterling, he is the Hedgeless Horseman. That's the moniker that he goes by. This is I think it's about 15 minutes. It's a podcast, and he talks about Dolly Varden. That's one of the companies that he talks about in this podcast. He also mentioned Nevada King. I had forgotten that Nevada King is the third largest landholder in Nevada. And so that's another mining company that I'll be taking a look at. They're a junior. I'll be looking at Nevada King. I'm a shareholder already in Nevada. I may pick up some more this coming week. This is another article from Bob. I'm not sure why it's not. There it goes. Another article for Bob where he talks about Dolly and a couple other mining stocks. This slide we'll come back to is based on this video. So this is a 12-minute video interview with Bob. He makes some good points, and that's why I did this slide. I want to just highlight some of the things that he says. Bob, before they bought Homestake Ridge, Bob would tell you that Dolly Varden is silver. And of course, now you have to acknowledge that they're actually silver and gold at this point. Interesting point of trivia, Herbert Hoover was the manager of Dolly Varden from 1919 to 1921. So that's an interesting factoid. Bob points out in the video that if you're looking for primary silver miners as an investor, well, you got Dolly Varden in the Golden Triangle, and then you pretty much from there you're in South America or Mexico. And me, I have to ask myself, where would I rather invest? Do I want to invest in British Columbia? Do I want to invest in South America or Mexico? Well, that's a rhetorical question, actually, for me. It's all about British Columbia. I'm being very selective in the geographic locations where I'm investing these days. I'm not really interested in putting my money in much of anywhere, to tell you the truth. Gold and silver, Dolly is silver, Homestake is gold. $20 million drill program, for 40,000 meters. This is you know, unless you're living in a vacuum, I'm sure that you're aware that the world is changing. If you're not aware that the world is changing, let me be the first to tell you, the world is changing. And as Bob points out in this video, it is a major geopolitical shift. And Bob thinks the most important change in 500 years. And I certainly wouldn't argue with Bob on that point. He's got a better grasp of history than I do, certainly monetary history. But this is just a major shift happening, in my opinion. We're transitioning from the debt-based Western system to a resource-based system that the BRICS are going to put together. And it's not just the BRICS, and actually it's the BRICS plus at this point, because more and more countries are joining BRICS and asking to join BRICS. So we really ought to be talking about BRICS plus. Anyway, when this transition, of course, we don't know when it's going to occur. Bob has said that he thinks Russia wants to wrap up the operation in Ukraine before they make a significant change in this direction. We have to keep in mind that when the BRICS announce a new reserve currency, that is going to be perceived in the West as an affront, an attack on the U.S. dollar, and of course all of the fiat currencies. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Russia and China and Brazil and India and, you know, all of the other the global South, they're biding their time. They're going to be very careful about when they roll out this resource-based currency, because it's likely to trigger new animosity in the West. And the West is already somewhat unhinged at this point. We won't go into that in this video, but a little bit scary. You know, you don't want to, don't mess with crazy people, because you don't know what they're likely to do. They're likely to do something crazy because they're crazy people. I mean, you know, crazy people do crazy stuff. And so I'm guessing that the BRICS, they're being very careful about the timing of this resource-based currency. So, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it in 2023. Would not surprise me in the slightest. So, and that's the video. That's the video that we're just talking about. And that's this video. I am done. That's Dolly Varden. I like it. I'm a shareholder. Do your own due diligence. And I'll talk to you soon, folks.